Welcome into Falcons Today. Matthew Peterson here with the latest on two starters who suffered injuries in the Week 3 loss against Kansas City. Right tackle Kaleb McGary and center Drew Dalman. So we're going to update you guys on that. Plus, we'll just kind of debrief and have a little bit of a therapy session following this tough home loss against the Chiefs. But let's start things off with Kaleb McGary, who left the game with a knee injury, and Ian Rappaport saying it is an MCL sprain. An MCL sprain could cause you to miss about a month, so I would not be surprised if in a day or two they opt to place Kaleb McGary on short-term IR with a designation to return. That way they can just open up an extra roster spot. Since Storm Norton is likely going to be filling in at right tackle, you're going to want some extra depth at that offensive tackle position. So that's the latest on McGary. Avoided a major injury, which is good, but he's likely going to miss 3 to 4 weeks in my opinion. As for Drew Dalman, high ankle sprain injury. He's going to get an MRI, also a likely candidate to go to short-term IR. So same goes for Dalman as it goes for McGary. If you think he's going to miss 3 to 4 weeks, it kind of just makes too much sense to place him on IR and open up an extra roster spot. That way, if you pick up more injuries, you're not even more shorthanded on the offensive line. So it's a bummer to watch two starters go down for what's probably going to be somewhere between 3 to 5 weeks. I feel like 6 weeks at the high end, but you just got to have a next up mentality, right? You just got to have a next up mentality to soldier on through and hop in the foxhole and just keep on rolling because this is the NFL. No one's coming to save you. Everyone's got injuries. Everyone's got ups and downs. Everyone's got bumps and bruises. So for the Atlanta Falcons offensive line, it's going to fall on Storm Norton and Ryan Neuzil to just step in and fill their shoes until they're able to return. And I thought both those guys did a pretty okay job when coming off the bench, ice cold, and stepping right into the fire against a really good Chiefs defensive line with Chris Jones and first-round pick George Karlaftis, first-round pick Felix Anudike-Uzomah. Like, there's a lot of good players up front for Kansas City. That linebacker room is really talented, and they weren't like, Pro Bowls all of a sudden off the bench, but they definitely weren't bad players. I mean, you could check out their PFF grades. Both guys logged a considerable amount of snaps. Norton playing 46, Ryan playing 42, but for it being their first game of the year, coming off the bench a little cold, they weren't like disasters. You know what I mean? I don't think anyone came out of that game going, well, we know this much, they can never see the field again. So I think you got to roll with the backups and just get them ready throughout the week of practice, and I'm confident that both of those players can do an okay job of just holding down the fort until the starters can return. And hopefully that does not take too long, but I've got some confidence in both of these backups, and you should too. Now, before we move on to the rest of today's episode, it's Saints week, baby. It's Aints week. So week 4 sub-battle, Falcons versus Saints. We're both at 0 right now, but let's take down Saints now in subscribers for this week. Hit that sub button if you cannot stand the New Orleans Saints. They have kind of beat us up in subscribers lately, but let's make sure we turn the tide right now. Hit that subscribe button if you have not already. All right, let's check out some of the week 3 takeaways I've got. One of the more underlying issues that need some attention for this Atlanta Falcons offense is third down. They have struggled mightily on third down. In fact, they have been one thing only on third down, and that is consistent. They have consistently gone through 3 weeks, 2 for 9 on third down. It's genuinely insane how they can continue to go 2 for 9, 2 for 9, 2 for 9, 3 straight weeks. 22% on the season. That is, I wouldn't say the biggest issue with this team after a 1-2 start, but it's definitely towards the top. Like, we're watching the Chiefs get first, second, and third down and then convert and put together 15-plus play drives. I feel like for Atlanta's offense, they are somewhat in need of a nice, long, sustained drive and maybe a couple in a row because a lot of their drives that result in scoring involve some really good explosive plays. And believe me, I'm not advertising to stop that. Those are awesome. We love those. We want more of those. But we also want to have the defense get their breath together. You know what I mean? And when the Chiefs spend so much time controlling the clock, it would be nice if Atlanta could convert a third down and just chew up some of the clock and hold on to the possession for a little bit longer. So this might be priority number 1. I mean, there's not a long list of issues Atlanta has following this 1-2 start. I feel like they are better than their record indicates. Week 1, you can kind of somewhat attribute just this an awful game plan that I feel like was corrected in week 2 and week 3. And I'll forever wonder why they've trotted out Kirk Cousins to stand in pistol and shotgun all game long and not run a single play from under center or a single play action pass. But that has been completely fixed. So we can just kind of put that one behind us. And then week 3, you lost by 5 to the back-to-back Super Bowl champs. Like, I'm not going to cry and have a hissy fit over that type of loss. It's a good loss. I know that sounds like a loser mentality, and it kind of is a loser mentality, but I'm still proud of this team for the way they battled on Sunday night. I still think they are a good ball club. Now, before we get on to the rest of my takeaways, quick shout-out to our awesome sponsor today, which is Zbiotics. Anyone who may not bounce back after a night of drinking as well as they used to should listen up. Because let's face it, when going out, sometimes you have to make a choice. You can either have a great night or a great next day. That is until I found Zbiotics pre-alcohol. Pre-alcohol is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to drink this probiotic before drinking alcohol, drink responsibly, and get a good night's sleep to feel your best tomorrow. So stay in the loop and go to zbiotics.com/chatsports or scan the QR code on screen right now to get 15% off your first order when you use code CHATSPORTS at checkout. Sign up for a subscription so you stay prepared no matter what or the time or occasion. Zbiotics is backed with 100% money-back guarantee, so if you are ever unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/chatsports and use the code CHATSPORTS at checkout for 15% off. Thank you, Zbiotics, for sponsoring this episode and, of course, our good times. Takeaway number 2. Are the refs to blame? We know what I'm talking about. Fourth quarter, last few minutes of the game, Kyle Pitts in the end zone, completely mauled and molested, and there's no flag. The referees after the game were asked about that specific play, and here's what referee Trey Blake had to say. That is a real-time call that officials have to make a judgment on. From the angle that they had at the time, they did not feel that there was a foul committed. What better angle do you need than this angle? I don't understand how you can chalk it up to didn't have a good line of vision on it. He's 5 feet away from the two players. It's I've never been one to pile on the refs because I think they have a difficult job, and I think sometimes it's low-hanging fruit, and if they don't get 100% of the calls correctly, then the entire crew is deemed awful, and the whole game's a sham. But damn it, look at it. Like, he is running through the receiver as the ball is arriving. And you're telling me it's a bad angle for the ref? The ref is the closest human being to those two guys on the field. No one could have a possibly better line of vision than this guy. And you're going to say, didn't have a great view on it. Get a better view. I don't want to place this loss on the refs because, like I said, I'm not a sports fanatic that likes to constantly look to place blame on the officials. Falcons had 2 fourth downs in the red zone, including 4th and inches, and failed to convert, failed to execute. But, wow, don't gaslight us with didn't have a good line of view when he's standing 5 feet away from him, and it would have given Atlanta 1st and goal at the 1. Like, people wonder why the rest of the NFL is kind of fed up with the Chiefs, and it's mostly just because they keep winning and secretly we're all jealous of them. But when you see shit like that, how can you not feel like, yeah, I think the NFL enjoys Kansas City winning, and they want to make sure they continue to win. So if there's anything that's a little bit close, how about we just don't throw the flag and say, we didn't have a very good view on it? Following this loss, are you more encouraged or discouraged? I mean, this to me, this loss kind of sounds like, and maybe you can relate to this depending on your college fandom. When your college football or basketball team puts together a good run, but ultimately falls short against a really good opponent, but you're like, that's a good loss. Like, I feel like that happens a lot in college basketball where you're like, we're putting together a good stretch here. We fell short to the number 3 team in the country, but we took them to overtime. That's a good loss. I feel like this game gave me vibes and traits of this is a team that's still on the right path. This is a good football team. This is a team that took the Chiefs down to the final minute of the game. This is a team that's going to get better as the season goes along. It is September, and that's why I lead to my third and final takeaway. The Falcons are going to be okay. I do not come out of this loss going, wow, we have an issue. Yes, they are 1-2, but they played arguably the 3 toughest games of the entire schedule already. Maybe the Saints will prove to be a tougher opponent than the Steelers, who are currently 3-0. But from here on out, like, look at the upcoming schedule. Saints and Bucks, I'm not saying are gimmies, but you get the Panthers after that, which, by the way, could they not have waited to bench like Andy Dalton until week 7, or bench Bryce Young until week 7? The Seahawks do not really scare me all that much. And then you get the Bucks again on week 8 on the road. Like, the schedule is going to even out a little bit more here for Atlanta. And the way they played over the last 2 weeks, especially after just a complete week 1 blunder, I'm confident that this is the right group. They've got great players. They've got good coaches. They just had to execute a little bit better, make a couple of little adjustments, and I believe this team can make those adjustments, and they're going to get better and better as the season goes along. That's going to do it for us on today's show. Oh, no, I have one more thing here. Yeah, I forgot about my own script. I'm feeling a big run coming. Just one last note, and then we can get you on out of here. Drake London and Darnell Mooney. How can you not be romantic about what we are seeing out of these 2 players through 3 games so far? Like Drake London, for starters, he has 2 touchdowns already. Keep in mind, last year, what do you have, 1, 2 touchdowns? Darnell Mooney is already running all over the field, picking up big chunks of yardage every single time the ball comes his way, it feels like. I feel like Atlanta is poised to go on a solid run at this point. Especially after looking over that schedule. We saw the Saints lose on Sunday. We just saw the Bucks lose to a winless Broncos team. The Panthers are going to get a little bit of like a bump and a little bit of a magic run from Andy Dalton, but that's not going to sustain for very long. They're going to come crashing down to earth. The Seahawks, through 3 games so far, have played, let's run through it. They beat Bo Nix in his rookie debut at home. They beat Jacoby Brissett and the Patriots, and then they beat Skylar Thompson. Yeah, I don't think the Seahawks are truly a 3-0 team when it comes to what the bar is for 3-0 teams. I think they just got to play a couple of bad quarterbacks. The defense is still gelling as well. I feel like that's just something that's going to take a little bit of time, and they are doing a good job. Like, we're seeing a balance of bend, don't break, but also making some good plays along the way. So overall, when it comes to the skill position players, we know what Bijan's capable of. Tyler Algier and him make a great 1-2 punch. The receivers are rolling. The defense is getting better. It's gelling. You've got playmakers with Justin Simmons and Jesse Bates all over the field all the time. This team is going to be just fine. So if you still believe in the Falcons, as now we head to the end of the video, drop an ATL in the comment section below. I'm still rocking and rolling with this team. No one should be panicking. No one should be afraid. No one should be scared right now. This team is going to go places in 2024. Let's give a quick shout out to the Dirty Birds Club, though. Jose Santana, Ken Ballard, Trey 1222, Jason Landino, Reese Atkins, Archangel, Angry Liquid, Jeebus H. Christ, Dictator JC. Shout out to you guys for being some of the biggest supporters of the channel. If you want to get a shout out for the entire 2024 season, super chat $100 during our watch parties, and we'll add you to the group.